Ooh, hello everyone. Matt over at SFREP. Glad you could join me today. We are going to be going over Sketch-It. I haven't done a Sketch-It webinar or video or anything like that in quite a long time. So we're going to remember all this together. But before we get started, a couple of things. First of all, if you're watching this live, welcome. If you are watching it after the fact, because we do archive these, and you can just go to SFREP, you can go to our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/SFREP. Click on live up at the top, and you'll be able to see all of our back webinars. If you're watching it pre-recorded, you can contact me and I will answer any questions you might have. You just need to send it as an email, and that email is going to be training@sfrep.com. However, for those of you who are here live, you can use the chat, which is going to be to the right, which is over here, of the video. Now, also down at the bottom of the video, there is a little status bar down there. And there will be some brackets. If you click on the brackets, that's going to make everything full screen. And if you click on the little elongated rectangle, that's going to put YouTube into theater mode, so you'll be able to see things better, but then that's going to move the chat down below, so keep that in mind. All right. So we will go ahead and get started. Now, of course, if you have some questions after the fact and you need help and an answer right away, or if you want some more clarification on Sketch-It, later on down the road, if you need to have someone go over this with you again, of course, you can rewatch this video, or you can contact our tech support. Tech support is going to be available at 800-644-4051. We probably all know that number by heart at this point. You can also email them directly, tech@sfrep.com. So let's move over to my screen here. And I'm going to crank up Appraise-It Pro. Now, you're not, of course, going to see my splash screen for Appraise-It Pro. It's going to be on my other monitor. But Appraise-It Pro will load up here in just a second. First time I've run it today, so it'll take it a second. No, I don't want to do that. And we will just, we're just going to open up a blank 1004 report here. All right. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sketch-It is the basic sketch program that's included with both Appraise-It and Appraise-It Pro. It is not a very fancy program. It is kind of a basic sketcher. It supports a single page. If you want multi-page sketching, we do have a similar program called Sketch 32. And if you contact our tech support, they can show you how to use that. And that gets installed along with Appraise-It Pro. And then, of course, there's also Apex. So if you're looking for an advanced sketcher, I generally recommend getting Apex. But Sketch-It is a great program that is good for just knocking out a real quick sketch. And you can put multiple floors on there. You just have to do it on the same sketch page, but it does support that, as well as outbuildings and things like that. So we're going to go over to the tools menu. Now, remember, in Appraise-It Pro, services are for online services, things that use the internet. Tools are for your local-based tools. So in this case, that is going to be Sketch-It, which is right here. So we're going to go ahead and launch Sketch-It. Now I'll need to pull it over here to my other monitor so you guys can see this. Now this is where you're probably going to want to either make the video go full screen, or you're going to want to at least do the theater mode, which is that elongated rectangle. It's going to make things a little bit easier for you to see. Now, up at the top here, we're just going to go over the layout first. Up at the top, we have a series of icons here. Now, these icons, if you don't know what they are, you can mouse over them, and the little tooltip, that little yellow tooltip, will tell you exactly what each of these icons do. Now, some of them are grayed out because we don't have a sketch open right now. But when you mouse over them, it'll tell you what they do. There's also a traditional menu up here at the top, and you'll see that we also have some actual quick links or key combinations that you can use. So let's say if you wanted to open up an area, you just do a Control-A. But I'm going to be using the icons up here along with these menu items today. So the first thing we're going to do here is we are going to create an area. Now we have to create an area before we get sketching because we need to designate what we're drawing, and we need to basically tell the program so it can tell Appraise-It Pro what type of area this is going to be, whether it's going to be counted or subtracted from the gross living area, or if it's even going to be gross living area at all, because if you were going to add a garage, you don't want that to be counted as the gross living area. Now, Sketch-It is ANSI compliant. However, we have recently found that some people are having problems with some lenders and AMCs saying that when you have a full number, like if you have a 12-foot wall, and it's going to just show that as 12 feet instead of 12.0. Now, you don't technically have to have the 0.0 on there, but you know how lenders and AMCs are. They all interpret everything, differently, and it's kind of vague in the specs on whether you have to put the .0 or not. So we are going to be making a change to Sketch-It coming up here shortly that is going to put 12.0 in there so that it does show that it is measured to the nearest tenth of a foot, But for now, it will just put 12.0. I believe you can just put an addendum in there basically saying this and explaining that to the lender or the AMC. If you have any problems with this or if you have any questions regarding that, just contact our tech support and they'll be happy to assist you. So let's go ahead and let's create the new area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this little page plus icon up here on the toolbar. And this is going to bring up this create area dialog here. All right. Now, the category, we have a bunch of different categories here. The category doesn't necessarily matter as much as the area name does, because the area name is what's going to affect whether the square footage is going to be included in the calculations. Okay. Real quick, by the way, you can still use the live chat. That'll be either to the side or down at the bottom. Vicky says, I'm interested in knowing how I can use this product to create my sketch in the field. Yeah, Vicky, I'll be happy to go over that with you separately, or one of our tech support people can. There's various ways you can run Sketch while you're out in the field. You can, on a standard laptop. There are also different types of laptops. So there's the Surface tablet, which is what our tech support office usually recommends. But you can also get a 2-in-1 laptop. Lenovo makes a bunch of them. I always recommend Lenovo. I think they make great laptops, but HP makes them and Dell makes them as well. Lenovo's are called either the Flex or the Yoga, but basically the concept is, you got your regular, I have a Flex 5, but I don't think I have it near me. But basically you have a regular laptop, you can close the laptop, open up the laptop. Well, with a 2-in-1, you can actually bend it all the way back around and it can become a tablet. So you could use that. You could use a stylus if you want, or you could just use the touchscreen to do drawing. It's not the best experience trying to draw like that with just your finger. I'd recommend either using a stylus if your computer supports that, or just doing the sketching just on the laptop like it was a regular laptop. There is a really cool thing you can buy them on Amazon. It's like a little desk thing that will clip onto your steering wheel and kind of give you a desk space right at the level that you'd want. You just kind of have to pull your seat back a little bit. See, that's something that's an option where you can just kind of have a little workspace while you're actually out in the field in your car. Okay, so getting back over here. So we're going to go ahead and select living area here because we're going to be drawing the first floor. Now the area name, we have first floor, second floor, third floor. You can also put in your own area name there if you want. But really this post 2, this is what's the most important, okay? So post 2, 1, 2, 3, B, G, or none. What this is going to do is this is going to tell Sketch-It how to feed the square footage information into Appraise-It Pro. So think of it basically as it can either be a floor of a house, or it can be an outbuilding or a garage or something like that. So in this case, 1 would be the first floor, 2 would be the second floor, 3 would be the third floor, and then you have basement, B for basement, and G for garage, or you can select none. Now, what you can also do is, if you can kind of fudge things a little bit. So if you're doing like an outbuilding, you could just say none, because that's not going to account for any kind of square footage. If you had like a 4th floor, you could go ahead and just put in like a 4 here. Pretty rare that you have 4-story houses, but it's possible. So in this case, I'm going to do living area. I'm going to do first floor. And I'm going to have it post to 1 because this is the first floor. Now here you have some other items down here that you can also do. Well, let me pull that back up. There we go. So we can do positive or negative calculations. So if for some reason we wanted to create, and like if you wanted to remove, let me see how you would do this. If you wanted to remove square footage for some reason, maybe there's an open to below on the second floor, then you could create a second living area for the second floor, but this time you could do negative adjustments so that when you draw that open area in the house, it will actually subtract square footage away from the second floor. Font type, pretty simple. Fill type, this would only be used if you were doing, say, an open to below and you wanted to shade it for some reason. There are a bunch of different patterns and fill types you could put in there. And then dimensions, by default, the exterior dimensions are going to be shown. You can also, if you want, show the interior wall dimensions, but most people don't want to do that, so that's set to off. And you can say, I only want to do it if it's over 2 feet. Okay? Print calculation details, that's going to print the little area down at the bottom of the page, kind of giving you a summary. And then include in category summary. Both of these are going to be checked by default. So we're just going to do sketch real quickly the first floor. So I'm going to click on create here. I always recommend, now you see when we do create, and I think this will show up. Sometimes it's kind of weird that the cursor doesn't show up. So if you don't see the cursor, I'll let you know what I'm doing with it. But sometimes, depends on the program. I think the way that I'm capturing the screen, it's going to show the cursor. You should see a plus if you do. Yeah, I see it now. Okay, it is there. So what we're going to do is I always like to put the cursor in the upper left-hand corner because I like to draw from the left-hand corner and then go draw like this in a clockwise fashion. So I'm going to start at the back of the house. All right. So it's best, excuse me, it's best to actually draw with the keyboard. It works out better if you do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put and you don't have to worry about it being centered or anything. We'll do that later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the crosshair in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to hit enter to drop the pencil or the pen. And you'll notice that the icon now turns into a pencil. And I'm not going to touch the mouse from here on out. If you bump the mouse, it kind of makes a whole thing. It's not the end of the world, but just try not to bump your mouse. So what I'm going to do is this, the back wall of this house is 50 feet. So I'm going to type in 50. Now, if you look in the lower left-hand corner of the screen down there, you'll see it says, I can't point at it, but it'll say distance to move 50 feet. So I'm going to type in 50, and now I'm going to hit the right arrow button on my keyboard. That is going to draw a 50-foot wall. Now, for those of you who have used other sketching programs, at this point, you're like, hey, this is pretty similar to the other sketching programs I've used, and that is the fact. Sketching is kind of sketching at this point. We've figured it out. So 50-foot wall, I'm going to hit enter. That's going to lock in the line, and you'll notice that the line gets bolded, and then it's going to show the 50-foot marker up there. Next wall is going to be 30 feet down, so I'm going to go 30 feet down. So this is the right-hand side of the house. Hit enter to lock it in. Now I'm going to go 10 feet to the left. Enter, locks in the line. I'm still drawing, haven't picked up my pen. We're still drawing. Now what I need to do here is I need to do a kind of a gabled window or an angled window in the front of the house. And this would be a window that is included in the square footage because it goes all the way from the ceiling down to the floor. Okay. So we're going to go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a rise and run. All right. So I'm going to basically tell Sketch-It that I'm going to go 5 feet to the left, but I am not going to hit enter to lock it in. Instead, I'm going to also tell it to go 5 feet down. That's going to give me a 45-degree angle wall. We're going to hit enter to lock it in. Now the front part of this window is 10 feet. So we'll go 10 feet to the left. And then we're going to reverse the process. 5 feet over, 5 feet up. Hit enter to lock it in. And we're going to go 20 feet to the left. And that measurement, if I've measured everything, great. It's all going to be square. Sometimes it's not. So if you need to fudge it a little bit before you lock in the line, you can use the arrow keys to move back and forth. But I know that 20 feet, that's going to bring me into square. So 20 feet over, and you'll notice that there is a red square right where I started. And what that's telling me, see if I move over to the left, it goes away. That's telling me that I have a right angle coming up. Okay. So at this point, what I could do is I could do a Control K, and it will draw the right angle for me. But I'm not going to do that. I could also do, so when I hit enter to lock it in, at this point, I can do a Control C. So think of K as being closed and C as being closed. Control K will draw your final right angle for you. Control C will finish up the sketch. So here I could do a Control C and it's going to finish everything up. But I could also just type in 30 up, hit enter to lock it in. I get a little tone, and now it has completed the first floor of the sketch. So now I'm going to do the second floor. So now I'm going to create a new area. And I'm going to do living area. This time we're going to do second floor. And you'll see when I select second floor, it automatically does 2 because that's generally what you're going to want to do. Not going to change anything else. We'll hit create. I'm going to come down here and about right here. Once again, we're going to go clockwise from the back left. Hit enter to drop my pen. I'm going to go 50 feet over, 30 feet down, 50 feet to the left. And then I'm going to do a Control C. That will go ahead and close off the sketch for us. Now, here, this is kind of messy because I want this to actually be centered. So what I can do is I can come up here to area, and I can say, I can either move the areas individually to get them to be centered. But because I've basically drawn this so that these two are centered with each other, I can come up here to center sketch, and it will center the sketch for me automatically. Now, of course, you're not seeing the information down here at the bottom that will be on the final sketch because it's not drawing that. It doesn't need to. But you can think of this as being the top part of a piece of paper, and that's what's going to be added into Appraise-It Pro. Now, from here, some people like to draw some interior walls. So if we want to do interior walls, we're going to come up here where it says Create Lines. Now, interior walls do not really, I mean, somewhat they do, but for the most part, interior walls are not going to affect the square footage of the house. So we don't need to have them factor into any kind of calculations for the area. So these are just going to be so that people can see what it actually looks like. Now, some of you may not do interior lines, and you just go ahead and you put on there like, here's the living room, here's the kitchen, blah blah blah. We'll get to that in a minute. But to do interior, to create some lines for the interior, and maybe for a deck or something like that, we're going to click on this little plus right here. And then what we're going to do is we can kind of free draw here. Now, if you free draw, you may have measured it so that you know that the deck is like 20 feet from where this is. Okay? So maybe there's a small deck that comes up here, and you know that it comes over here 20 feet, and then it goes out 10 feet. Okay? So how do you measure that? How do you make sure you get that correct? Well, what you're going to do is, in this case, we're going to start from this corner right here. So I'm going to hit the J key on my keyboard. That's going to jump the cursor over to that corner, whatever the closest corner is. All right? And I'm not dropping my pen yet. I know that the deck goes 20 feet from the upper right corner. So we're going to go 20 to the left. Now I've measured out 20 feet there. Now I'm going to go ahead, drop my pen, and I know it goes out 10 feet. So we're going to go 10 up, and then we're going to lock it in. Now I'm going to go 20 feet to the right, lock it in, and then now we're going to go 10 feet down, lock it in, and now I'm going to hit enter a second time, and that's going to pick up my pen. So now I have a deck here. Now let's say, all right, well, I want to go ahead and I want to label that deck. First of all, let me center this again so we've got a little bit of headroom here. So now I want to go ahead and I want to label this as the deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little AZ plus minus here so that I can add some labels. Add text. Oh, sorry. We're going to do it up here. Just go to create and we're going to do text. You can also do a Control T. In this case, I think deck's going to be in here. So I'm going to go down here. Yeah, there's deck. And I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to put that little label right here for deck. And then if I'm done, I can hit escape or I can select something else. So maybe I put deck there and I'll come down here and we'll do, where's kitchen? Well, let's do great room. Maybe the great room is right here. And the dining room. You can also freeform these. So if you wanted to do something that wasn't in here, maybe I know that one of these is not going to be in here. So I could do data closet. Hit OK, and move the data closets right here. When I'm done, I'm just going to hit cancel, and now I've labeled it. Now, if you do need to do interior walls, you're going to do it the same way that you did the deck here. So let me add like one interior wall here. So I'll do create text. Create lines. So we'll do right here, create lines. Let's just do a room here. So I'm going to hit J right here, and it's going to jump me to that corner, and I'm going to go up 15 feet to the top. Actually, I'm going to start at that corner. So we'll just do J, drop my pen. We'll go 15 feet up. And then I'm just going to freeform it over here. I think it was 20 feet, but I'll just draw it over here. Once we get to where we want, hit enter a second time, or we hit enter to lock it in, and then hit enter a second time to pick it up. Maybe this was maybe a bedroom that's on the first floor. So I'm going to come back over here to create. We'll do text. We'll do... I think this might actually still say master bedroom. I can't remember. We'll just do this one as, we'll say primary bedroom. Hit OK. We'll label it primary bedroom, and then we're done. Now, of course, we're going to need doors. Got to have doors to get in and out of the rooms in the house. So I'm going to come up here to create, and this time I'm going to select icons. All right. So now I've got a ton of different icons that I can put in here. One of these is going to be door. So this door opens to the left. It's going to automatically pick some scaled out widths for you. You know, if the door needs to be bigger than 2.5 feet, this is going to be in feet. So you could have a bigger door, maybe it's a 3-foot door, whatever. But we're just going to say 2.5 feet here. So I'm going to hit OK. Don't worry about this. This is a artifact of the way I'm capturing the screen. It'll sometimes do this. But what I'm going to do here is, see, if I do this, it looks like it opens in. But let's say this door actually opens out. Now, I know most of the time in a bedroom it's going to open in, but let's just pretend it opens out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit R on my keyboard, and it's going to rotate it around. So I could rotate it all the way around, but I want it to open out like this. And then I'm just going to kind of place it on the line here. And now we have a door that opens out. Of course, we're going to have one that opens to the front. So we'll hit open there. And door right. There we go. And once again, ignore that. And then we'll say, I don't know. I've kind of messed it. Let's just say it's right here. So we'll do, there's the door. And then I can also add things like a ceiling fan. Where's ceiling fan? There's ceiling fan. Maybe the primary bedroom has a ceiling fan right here. So put it right there. There's a bunch of different stuff. Here's a fireplace. Hit OK. Fireplace is going to maybe be in the dining room. And we'll rotate it around and we'll put it right there. So once you're done with that, you just hit cancel, and now you've got your sketch for the first floor. And of course, we're going to probably want to label this down here as the second floor. We'll do create text. We'll do, I think second floor is already in here. Yeah, there it is. And maybe I want to make it bold because it is an actual area. We'll hit OK. And there's second floor. So really easy. I could also underline that if I wanted to. Now, how do we do arcs and curves? This is the biggest question that gets asked, and it's probably the hardest thing to do in any sketching program. And part of it comes from how you are actually going to measure an arc. Now, most of you probably know this, but if you don't, there are a couple of ways to do measurements. What I generally recommend is using the chord and the arc height, because that makes it the easiest to do, okay? So the chord is the distance between the starting point and the end point of the curve or the arc, because any curve is going to be a portion of a full circle, okay? So the chord is always going to be the distance between the starting point and the end point of the curve. So you're going to need to know that figure. So that's the first thing you measure. The second thing you're going to measure is going to be the arc height. This is a downward top-down view. Arc height, take the middle, start at the, whatever the middle is between the two starting points, and then measure from there up to the top, and that's going to be your arc height. So those are the two figures you're going to need in order to draw a curve, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to go new sketch. No, I don't want to save it. And let's see here. Let me pull up a couple things here real quick, guys. All right. I'm just doing some stuff over here. Okay. So we're going to draw a wall. So let's create an area real quick. We're just going to do first floor. We're going to start drawing our wall. We're going to go 30 feet over. And let's say we have kind of a turret or a bump out or something that's curved here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control B, and that's going to bring up the Create Arcs dialog. And so now I know what I've already measured my chord length and my arc height, okay? So everything else that's in here, ignore it, okay? Because this is automatically going to be calculated for you. So let's say that my chord length was, let's call it 20 feet. This is all in feet. Chord height, let's say, was 5. So it's going to be a fairly gentle curve. And then we're going to hit OK. And it's going to give me my angle. It's going to calculate everything for you. And then I'm going to hit OK again. And now I can decide how I'm actually going to place this. Okay. So there we go. And there we go. So it's 17 feet. So that wall now is 17 feet. because I've given it the chord height and the chord everything, the chord height and the arc, or the arc height and the chord. All right. And then I could continue drawing. We'll do, 12. We're going to do 20 feet over to the right. There we go. And I'm just going to cancel this because I don't want to draw the entire thing. Now, I know that can be confusing. And, we're just kind of going it over here in a webinar. What you can also do is I've done a video on this that really kind of goes in depth and explains not only how to do curves and arcs, but it also includes how to use Sketch-It. Okay. And actually, what we need to do real quick is we need to draw that house again real quick. So I'm just going to quick and dirty. We're going to draw 50 feet to the right, 30 feet down. We'll do 10 feet over. Let's do that. Once you get good at this, you can do this pretty quickly. So 20 feet over, and then we'll do a Control-C to close it, and then we'll center it. All right, so we have our first floor. Now, the thing you're going to need to know is how to get this into Appraise-It Pro. So really, the only thing you have to do is come up here, because remember, we already have Appraise-It Pro open. We're doing this kind of separately in the Sketch-It program. We're going to come up here to File. We're going to select Save Sketch. We are not going to we're not going to change the name or anything. We're just going to hit Save. And what it's going to do is it's going to transfer the sketch over. It's going to do two things. It's going to transfer the sketch, an image of the sketch, over to Appraise-It Pro, and it is going to link the Sketch-It file to this report. Okay, so if I come over to Sketch, you'll see there's my sketch right there with my calculations down there. And if I go back to the main body of the report, you'll see that down here, it will have given me the gross living area, and it's also going to be placed onto the square footage calculation addendum, which is right here. And there you can see how everything breaks out. Okay. Now let's say that I'm going to save this report. What I can do is once I've saved this report, there is a link that's been created between that sketch file and this particular report. So if I ever come back into this report and I go to Tools, so I open up the report a week later, go back to Tools, and I open up Sketch-It, it's going to I've already got Sketch-It running. Let's close Sketch-It. If I come back in here and I open up Sketch-It, it opens up on my other monitor, but it is going to open up that sketch so that you can edit it. Now, the key here, though, and this is something I didn't do here, you need to make sure that you've saved your report prior to opening up and doing your sketch. That way, it knows how to link the sketch back to the report. So, do your sketch. You'll have already saved it and given it a name and everything generally when you do your sketch. But just make sure that you've done that, because I didn't do that here. You need to make sure that you've given it an actual sketch, so that way when you transfer your sketch. And by the way, the best way probably to transfer your sketch is actually just to exit out of Sketch-It and then just hit Save. And then it's going to link everything for you, okay? All right, let's see. Did we forget anything? Because I think we're coming to the end here. We've gone over interior walls, transferring your sketch. Okay, does anyone have any questions? If you have any questions that you want to ask, all you got to do is use the chat that is down at either the bottom or over on the right-hand side. Or you can, if you're watching this after the fact, you can email training@sfrep.com. And if you need help right away, just call our tech support, 800-644-4051. Vicky asks, how do you get a chord length and an arc height when you are measuring the exterior of the building? Well, if you're doing the exterior of the building, math is not my forte. You could easily get, there is a way to do this with geometry, and it escapes me at the moment. If you do a search on Google, it will tell you this, because if you know, because you can easily get the arc height by measuring from the start of the, here, let me pull this back up. So you could easily get the arc height by measuring from that left-hand side where the arc starts up to where the peak of the arc is. So that's going to be your arc height. And then what you could do, and you're going to have to eyeball this a little bit, but you could go to the top. Let me see if I can't draw in this. So when you have your arc here, you could come out to the top here and go over to the corner. So walk out straight until you're equal with where the top of the arc is. So that's going to be one measurement. And then walk from here across past the peak of the arc measure over to where you would have a right angle back down to the end of the arc, and that would be your chord. So you can, it won't be as exact if you are measuring from the outside, but you'll be able to, walk out at a right angle. So as long as you know those right angles, you do everything at a right angle, you should be able to measure it. So it's basically the chord is the width of the curve, and then the height would be from the wall of the house up to where the peak of the arc is. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me. But like I said, if you need immediate help and you need someone to kind of log into your computer and help you out, I would definitely get with our tech support. Now you can do that by going to support in Appraise-It Pro. So let me show you here. Go to support, the support tab in Appraise-It Pro. You can call, but the other thing you can do is you can come over here to chat. The chat's great because you'll get somebody right away, because our tech support people, they can do multiple chats at a time while they're on the phone even. So they can try to help you in chat, and if they can't, then they can get back with you, and they can actually call you back if needed. And they'll just say, hey, I'll call you back when I'm done with this call. Let's see. Catherine says, thank you, Catherine. Length of the arc, then the height of the arc. Think about a rounded patio. Go to the base of the arc and get the length. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was talking about. She's put it in writing form a little bit better than I could put it in word salad form. But yeah, you want to know the width of the arc basically, and then how far it bumps out. So you could easily do those measurements from the exterior. Okay. Anybody else have any other problems, questions, concerns? Telling me how terrible I am, whatever you want to do. Once again, if you need to get in contact with me after the fact, just training@sfrep.com. Always the best way to get in touch with me, and I generally will answer my emails within the hour. Be happy to help you out. But once again, you can also email tech directly, tech@sfrep.com, and then 800-644-4051. I believe our experts on Sketch-It would be Lindsay and Marty. And I know you guys have talked to them before, but Lindsay and Marty, they are the experts on Sketch-It, and they will be able to help you out. Hopefully I have given you some insight and helped you out with getting started with Sketch-It. I'm going to do some more of these webinars and maybe touch on some more in-depth stuff with it. Vicky says that's a lot easier for a patio than a brick or stone house. Yeah, but like as long as you know you're doing right angles, you're basically measuring directly out until you kind of eyeball when you're like even with the top of the arc. Vicky, you should be able to be able to get a pretty dead-on measurement. There are some trigonometry or geometry things you can do. Like if you had a tape measure, you could measure the actual circumference of that particular part of the arc, and then do some math. Once again, I was a word person, so math is not my forte. But obviously, all you really need to know is you need to know the height of the arc and then the width of the arc. Once you know those two things, then you'll be able to draw it and sketch it. You can't see right angles. Yeah, I know. You're going to have to approximate it. Unless anybody knows the formula for doing the measurement another way. But that's probably the easiest way I can think of to be able to measure it. But yeah, it's going to be, you're going to have those two pieces of information be able to draw an accurate arc. So, as long as you get it pretty dead on, dead reckoning of, okay, and now I'm even with I've measured out and now I'm even with the top of the arc, then you got your arc height. And then if you go out there and measure the width of it, not this width of it, but this width of it, from the front, you should be able to get those measurements. Okay, guys, I want to thank you very much for being with me here today. If you have any questions, once again, training@sfrep.com, and then also contact our tech support at 800-644-4051. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm here if you need me. I can set up one-on-one trainings with you guys. Be happy to. But of course, if you need immediate assistance, contact our tech support. I hope all of you have a safe week, and I hope everyone who is a mother, happy Mother's Day to all of you. I hope you had a great Mother's Day as well. Got some flowers and some chocolates and, a nice dinner. I am taking my mother out today because I didn't even want to deal with the crowds, because I've just recently moved back to my hometown of Charlotte. It's a big city, and all the restaurants would have been just completely overrun. So we're going to do it today. So I hope you guys have a great one, and we will see you on our next webinar. Thanks a lot.